In a week marked by rising diplomatic tension and humanitarian concern, Public Safety Minister Gary Anandasangaree has drawn a sharp line between Canadian and American enforcement tactics. His statement, "Canada is not Minnesota," served as a firm defense of Canadian values following a series of violent U.S. immigration raids that left 2 dead and a community in turmoil. The context, turmoil in the Twin Cities. Throughout January 2026, the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, and Customs and Border Protection, CBP, launched intensive operations in Minnesota. The crackdown, characterized by many as a federal invasion, escalated into tragedy with the shooting deaths of 2 Minneapolis residents. Renée, shot by an ICE officer in her car on January 7th. Alex Preddy, killed by CBP officers during a demonstration on January 24th. These incidents sparked massive protests across the United States and put Canadian officials on high alert as they navigate a difficult patch in the long-standing cross-border relationship. The minister's stance: due process versus crackdowns. Speaking in an interview this week, Minister Anandasangaree, who oversees the Canada Border Services Agency, CBSA, emphasized that while Canada does remove individuals who do not have a legal right to stay, the method of doing so is fundamentally different. "I think my responsibility is not to opine on other countries' processes, but, more importantly, to ensure that our process is in line with charter values, is in line with the rule of law, and is in line with due process." Gary Anandasangaree, Public Safety Minister. Key comparison points. The minister highlighted several areas where Canadian policy diverges from the current American approach. Humane removals. Canada removed over 22,000 people last year. Anandasangaree insisted these were handled in a compassionate and humane manner. Charter values. All enforcement actions in Canada must adhere to the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, ensuring that even those being deported are treated with dignity. Intelligence sharing. Despite the friction, the minister confirmed that security cooperation remains intact, citing the RCMP's ongoing involvement in joint U.S.-led criminal investigations. Regional echoes. Manitoba's moral clarity. The sentiment was echoed by Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew, whose province shares a border with Minnesota. During a First Ministers meeting in Ottawa, Kinew revealed that he had been approached by citizens terrified for their families across the border. Kinew argued that Canada must remain a voice of moral clarity even as it navigates sensitive trade negotiations under the Canada-US-Mexico Agreement, CUSMA. He suggested that standing by Canadian values is not just a moral obligation but a strategic one, potentially destabilizing aggressive negotiating tactics from the U.S. administration by holding a higher ethical ground. Corporate and political pressure. The crisis has also turned a spotlight on Canadian businesses. BC Attorney General Nikki Sharma and other leaders have urged Canadian companies to reconsider providing infrastructure or vehicles to ICE, warning that silence isn't neutral when connected to controversial federal operations. Meanwhile, Federal Immigration Minister Lena Diab is moving to tighten internal tracking, seeking new tools to monitor the exit of temporary residents, a move that signals Canada's intent to manage its own borders strictly but fairly, avoiding the chaotic scenes unfolding in the American Midwest.